The millionaire falls for the black woman beggar florist who saved his event last minute. It was the kind of rain that drenched you to the bone, unforgiving and cold. The streets of Chicago slick with sweat and shadow. Lucy Henderson's little flower shop sat squeezed between a greasy diner and a shuttered pawn shop, its faded sign swinging in the wind like a whisper nobody heard. At 26, Lucy looked smaller than she was. Worn hands, tired eyes, but a fire inside you couldn't ignore. She had lived for one purpose since the world ripped her family apart: caring for her little sister Lily. The loss of their parents had pressed down on them like the weight of a storm cloud, ready to break. Then, the phone rang. Roman Matthews, wealth dripping from every syllable of his voice. The kind of name that made you think champagne and silk, not dirt under fingernails and wilted daisies. But his voice cracked with pain. Grief clawed deep. He needed flowers. Now. Emergency. A charity event where stuffy millionaires would look down their noses at anyone who wasn't in their gilded club. Roman, losing the woman who'd been his whole world, was desperate for something, anything, to fill the silence at the table. Lucy almost hung up. Why would he call her? A struggling florist with a shabby shop and a sister who counted on her every minute. But there was something raw in his desperation, and in a heartbeat, she grabbed her raincoat and scissors. The little bell over the door jingled as he stepped inside. Tall, impeccably dressed, but his eyes were shadows. Their worlds collided, the concrete grime of Lucy's shop with the polished mirrors of his life. And yet, something sparked. The air shifted, tasted electric, fragile. Roman watched Lucy's hands move deftly, gathering blooms like they were pieces of a puzzle only she could solve. Vibrant reds, soft pinks, wild greens, bending just right. Every crease on her face told a story bigger than words. She spoke little, but made magic with blooms, something alive, growing from the heartache. He came back, for the office, for the endless talks about colors and scents and spaces. The barriers cracked as laughter slipped between them, like sunlight through gray clouds. Lucy found herself hoping the pain on his face would ease a little more with each visit. But shadows lurked, not just in Roman's past. Valentina, Roman's ex-fiancée, sharp and cold, with a smile that cut like glass. She watched Lucy from the edges, eyes narrowed, ready to pounce. And then there was Edward, the rich investor who sneered at Lucy's modest shop, her battered hands, her dreams. He didn't just dislike her, he looked past her, like she was nothing more than a weed in a rose garden. But back home, Lucy's heart broke all over again. Lily sat crumpled on the floor, rejection letter in hand, dreams deflated. Lucy's chest tightened. How could she protect Lily from this pain too? One night, Roman invited Lucy to dinner in his penthouse. The skyline glittered, but inside, the silence screamed. Roman's grip tightened on the glass, his lips trembling. The grief spilled out, raw and real. And there, in the fragile stillness, he asked her a question that froze time. Just when Lucy thought the path might clear, Valentina struck. A confrontation so sharp, so unyielding, it made Lucy stumble. The shadows crept back again. As she walked home under dripping streets, her mind raced. The weight of all her struggles pressed down, slugging every breath. What was she fighting for? Love? Family? A chance to rise above the storm? Or would everything she hoped for wilt away like a forgotten flower? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. A lot of subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming your way. And while you're here, hit that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Lucy trudged home, the rain still coming down in sheets. Each step felt heavier with the weight of uncertainty. Roman's smile, his delicate touch on her hand, echoed in her mind. What if Valentina was right? What if everything she felt was just a whisper in the storm? As she turned the corner, the flickering streetlight caught her eye. In an alley, shadows danced beneath old fire escapes. She hesitated, heart racing, but that nagging worry pulled her closer. Perhaps it was just the remnants of the day pushing her on. The alley smelled damp and old, but something caught her attention. A movement at the far end. As she approached, she saw a figure huddled against the wall, drenched and shivering. It took a moment for Lucy to register who it was. Mary, an old friend from high school. Mary had been the bright star, always surrounded by laughter and friends. But now she looked lost and broken. "Lucy," Mary croaked, her voice hoarse. "Help, please." "Mary, what happened?" Lucy knelt beside her, heart pounding. She wrapped her arms around Mary. "Let's get you out of here." But as Mary pulled back, her eyes flickered with fear. I can't go back." "Back where?" Lucy asked, confusion flooding her. "The hospital. They think I'm crazy. Just then, a sharp sound cut through the night. The clatter of boots echoed, and two men appeared, faces shadowed. Lucy could feel something shift in the air. This wasn't just unfortunate timing. It felt like fate holding its breath. "Mary!" one of the men shouted, his voice cruel and jagged. "You can't keep running." Mary's face went pale. "No, I won't go back. They'll—" "Stay away from her," Lucy shouted, standing up, but her legs trembled. They moved closer, and Lucy's instinct screamed. She turned, grabbing Mary's hand. But Mary froze, eyes wide. "Lucy, please don't." Suddenly, Mary's eyes slid to Lucy, and her expression shifted, shame deepening the lines on her face. I didn't mean for it to happen. They found out the truth, Lucy. The truth about my family." "What truth?" Lucy whispered, fear creeping in. Then the words tumbled out, heavy as stones, each one crushing the air around them. "My mom was a millionaire. Roman's family, they were involved. We were supposed to hide it, but it all came out." The world tilted. Roman, with his polished suits and quiet sadness. He had money, wealth, power. But Mary, the girl who once brightened every room? "You're saying Roman knows?" Mary nodded. Panic danced across her features. He remembers. The family feud. They don't let go of things like this. If you keep seeing him, you'll get dragged into it too. It's all connected. And just like that, Lucy felt the cracks deepen. The walls came crashing, shattering the fragile web they'd built. Mary's words echoed in her head, mixing with the harsh rain. The million-dollar world and the life she fought to build, they were colliding. A distant siren wailed, blaring through the silence. Lucy's hands trembled, heart pounding. Could she trust Roman? Was it all a game? As the men edged closer, Lucy felt the storm brewing, ready to swallow her whole. She squeezed Mary's hand tighter. "Run with me." But in that moment, a harried shout broke through the night. Roman's voice, desperate and wild, echoed down the street, searching. And deep down, Lucy knew she had to face the truth before it consumed them both. Lucy squeezed Mary's hand tighter. "Run with me." The siren's wail faded into the background, swallowed by the weight of their moment. Roman's voice, desperate and wild, echoed down the street. Panic flooded Lucy's chest. This was it, the storm of truth breaking loose. "Lucy!" Roman's voice cut through the chaos. "Shh!" she whispered to Mary. "He's here." Mary's eyes widened in fear. "You can't! He'll hate me if he knows. They'll think I'm just another crazy person." But Lucy didn't care. She stepped back, straining to see Roman breaking through the rain. His silhouette came alive, fear and determination dancing in every move. Shadows multiplied around them, but for a moment it felt like nothing mattered except how close they could get to safety. "Lucy!" he called again, concern etched into his features. "Where are you?" And then, just as the night pulled heavier, two figures broke through the darkness. They shoved their way to Mary, their faces twisted into smirks lit by the street lamp. "There you are," one of the men said, sneering. "We've been looking for you." Mary flinched, trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. "No, don't, please." Darkness transpired and confusion wove its way through Lucy's thoughts. "Get away from her!" Lucy shouted, stepping between the men and Mary. Roman was closer now, his presence bringing a flicker of light amid the shadows. "Stop," he demanded, eyes locked onto Lucy. "What's going on?" "Just get out of here," Lucy yelled, her voice desperate. "No," Mary cried, tears spilling over her cheeks. "You don't understand. If you keep seeing him, the truth will destroy you both." "What truth, Mary?" Roman demanded, scanning the scene like a hawk. Then the world tilted again, as Mary whispered the worst words Lucy could have ever imagined. "I didn't know how to say it, but it wasn't just my mom. It's Roman's family. They're the reason my family fell apart. We were supposed to be together, Lucy. We were supposed to protect each other. But I ran, and they found us." Lucy's heart thudded heavily. Every beat echoed betrayal. "What? What did you say?" Just then, as confusion rumbled like thunder, one of the men stepped forward, pulling a silver badge. "Lucy Henderson, you're under arrest for aiding a fugitive." A gasp escaped Lucy's lips. "What? You've got to be kidding!" "Drop the act," the man barked, stepping skyward. The world came crashing down. Everything spun. Mary's pleading gaze met hers, a mirror of terror. "Lucy, run! You don't understand. They'll pin this on you too. You can't trust him." Suddenly the second man raised his phone, and Lucy's heart sank. The flashing light cut through the rainy haze like a beacon. Time's up, Mary, he barked. Mary's eyes darted to Roman. You don't even know who you really are, do you? The truth is darker than you think. Roman shook his head, the storm in his eyes building with every word. What are you talking about? But before she could answer, a blinding flash erupted from the alley, the kind that stunned the night itself. A gunshot rang out, followed by a scream that slashed through the air. Everything stopped. Time hung like a minute shard of glass, shimmering moments before it shattered. And as the smoke cleared, Lucy's heart lurched. Roman's eyes widened in shock, and a sudden realization hit her. The figure at the edge of the alley, shadowed by the chaos, wasn't just a stranger. The twisted truth fell into place. Everything spiraled. Roman's family wasn't just entwined with Mary's. It was deeper and more sinister than anyone ever knew. With this one moment, everything Lucy thought she understood shattered into pieces. Now, as the sirens grew nearer, she had to confront the fact that the man she cared for, the man who stood so close now, was intertwined with a past she had yet to uncover. And every bond she thought they shared, it was hanging by the thinnest thread, ready to snap. Roman, Lucy gasped. What did you do? Roman, Lucy gasped. What did you do? The words hung heavy in the air, charged with fear. Roman's expression transformed, going from shock to something darker. What are you talking about? He asked, voice trembling. Just then, chaos erupted. The two men lunged for Mary, but before they could reach her, the alley lit up with flashing lights, blue and red tearing through the storm. Sirens wailed, drowning out their words. Lucy's heart raced with urgency, the fear mounting as if each second were a passing tide, ready to sweep everything away. Get back, Lucy shouted. She stood protectively in front of Mary. You can't take her. No one's taking anyone, Roman said, stepping closer, his eyes darting between Lucy and the men. I need to understand what's happening. Run, Mary cried, tears streaking down her face. The truth is worse than you think. But then, just as the confusion peaked, a scream pierced through the night, a blood-curdling shriek that twisted Lucy's insides. All eyes turned to see what had happened, and there, framed in the dim alley light, was a woman, a figure cloaked in darkness, hair cascading over her shoulders, features sharp with urgency. Roman, she shouted, voice cracking. You need to leave. It's not safe. Lucy's stomach dropped. The woman knew him? The grip of dread tightened. Who are you? She asked, her voice strained, breathless. As if in response, the men took a step back, eyes narrowing. You don't know who you're dealing with, one of them said, cutting into the confusion. Do you? Suddenly the woman stumbled forward. Roman, listen, your father, he's coming for you. They found out you're alive. A jolt of disbelief shot through Lucy. Alive? What did that even mean? Roman's hesitation spoke volumes. What do you mean he's coming? Then the shocking truth shattered the air. He faked your death, Roman. He's been hiding you from the world to keep the family legacy safe. Your mother, she knew. Lucy's breath caught. Everything she thought she understood spun like a tornado. The family feud, Mary's desperation, Roman's grief, it all intertwined in a way that made her head spin. Was Roman really in danger? Was this woman telling the truth? The sarcastic smirk melted from one of the men's faces. If he's alive, that means your mother, is too. They'll stop at nothing. Your world is about to be flipped upside down, kid. What are you saying? Roman's voice grew desperate, fear sparking behind his eyes. Tell me. Before anyone could reply, a gunshot rang out, echoing off the brick walls, the sound shattering their fragile moment. A blast of heat struck Lucy's arm, sharp like fire. Her body stiffened, eyes darting in every direction. The world around her turned into chaos as people screamed and ran, shadows blending into one another. "Lucy!" Roman shouted as the scene blurred into disarray. He lunged toward her, arms outstretched, but chaos enveloped them both. And then a figure emerged from the smoke, tall, imposing, shrouded in authority. "Nobody move!" A police officer with a badge and a stern look stepped in, making everything feel instantly claustrophobic. In the sudden stillness, Mary collapsed, eyes wide and filled with terror. "They'll pin everything on you, Lucy," she gasped, breath ragged. "Get out while you can." The officer pointed at Mary, voice booming. "Step away from the fugitive." Fugitive? Lucy's heart dropped to her stomach. Mary, Roman, everything was spiraling. The truths were tangled, and light flooded the dark corners in the worst way possible. In that chaos, as the air thickened with uncertainty, Lucy realized they were all in danger, tied together by secrets that refused to let them breathe. Roman's identity, his family name, it was a trap. And with every revelation, the stakes climbed higher. "Run!" Mary screamed again, but Lucy couldn't move. She felt paralyzed, the weight pressing down. What were they really running from? Who could they trust? In that moment, the deepest truth sank in. The shared laughter, the tender moments, everything could crumble in an instant. And all around them, the storm raged on, louder than ever. Secrets were about to unravel, the past wrapped tight around each of them like a noose. Lucy could only wonder what would happen next, the dark horizon stretching before them, holding shadows of everything they feared. Lucy's heart raced, caught between panic and urgency. The chaos around her morphed into a swirling tempest, the sirens wailing like lost souls. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "We have to get Mary out of here." But just as Lucy turned to pull Mary away, the two men lunged. The officer blocked them, yelling for backup, but dread gripped Lucy's chest. Mary stood frozen, caught between fear and the unfolding chaos. "Move!" Lucy shouted again, pulling Mary by the arm, but Mary shook her head, her eyes wild with desperation. "Don't you see?" she cried. "They're here because of me. I can't go back to that place. You don't know what they'll do." "Mary, we can't stay here." Roman's voice pushed against the noise. He stepped closer, but the moment he did, Mary's expression changed, fear folding into something darker, more resigned. "Lucy, you don't understand." Mary's voice trembled. "I didn't just run from the hospital. I'm not just a fugitive. I was going to tell you that I'm sorry for everything." The confusion in Lucy grew, like a knot tightening in her stomach. "What do you mean? Sorry for what?" Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the air. A woman's voice echoing in horror. It cut through the rain, silencing everything for a heartbeat. Lucy whipped around, instinctively shielding Mary. The chaos shifted as everyone turned. There, at the alley's mouth, stood a woman with sharp features, haunted, breathless. "Roman!" she shouted again, her voice cracking, terror etched across her face. You need to go. They've found you. The atmosphere thickened. Roman's eyes, filled with dread, met Lucy's. What the hell is happening? He demanded. Your family. They've come to finish what they started, the woman cried, gesturing wildly, her voice climbing higher with panic. You were supposed to be dead, but they know you're alive. You need to get away from Mary. Before Lucy could process her words, the officer moved forward, hand on his weapon. Step away from the fugitive, all of you. The tension hummed in the air, like an electric current, and in the midst of it, a flicker of recognition sparked in Roman's eyes as he turned back to the woman. Natasha? Is that you? Lucy's breath caught. Natasha. The name echoed with weight. Yes, I tried to protect you. I thought it was over. But your father, he's been hunting anyone connected to your past. Mary's family? The woman's voice trailed off, deepening the shadows of doubt and confusion swirling inside Lucy. Connected to my past? Roman echoed, disbelief flooding his words. What are you talking about? Everything you thought you knew, it's a lie. You, me, your family, it's all tied to the worst betrayal. They think you know the truth about your mother, about your legacy. Suddenly, the ground beneath Lucy shifted. Roman's face went pale, and a cold realization washed over him. What truth? Before Natasha could reply, a thunderous crash echoed behind them. A group of men stormed into the alley, faces masked, weapons drawn. They moved like shadows, engulfing the space in an eerie silence, aiming toward Roman and Mary. Run! Lucy screamed, pulling Mary again, but the tumultuous scene trapped her in place, her feet frozen to the ground. The masked men shouted something, a flurry of threats spilling into the air, and just as Lucy's eyes widened with fear, one man turned to her, the blade of his knife glinting in the dim light, pointing straight at her chest. Step aside, girl. You don't want to get hurt. A scream erupted from Lucy's throat. No! But before the chaos could fully unfold, a single gunshot rang out, drowning the air with shock. Lucy looked up, heart hammering in her chest, searching for the source. And then, like a thunderclap, everything exploded into chaos. She stumbled backward, eyes wide with terror, as she processed the sight in front of her. Roman stood, blood blooming on his shirt, staring down at the wound with disbelief. The world froze. Time slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. Roman! Lucy cried, a wave of terror crashing over her. But as she lunged forward, Mary's voice cut through the haze, sharper than glass. It was never just about us, Lucy. The truth is... But the words were lost as Roman collapsed, the darkness swallowing everything whole. And in that harrowing moment, Lucy realized the devastating secret that had been lurking beneath the surface all along. Nothing was as it seemed. A flood of emotions poured in. The fear, the anger, the betrayal. The world spun, and all she could grasp was that everything she thought she knew was crumbling. Just like the love she thought grew between them, slipping away like water through her fingers. And now, as she knelt by Roman's side, the weight of their tangled fates crashed down. The truth, it seemed, was more monstrous than she could ever have imagined. Lucy knelt beside Roman, panic clutching her heart like a vice. His expression shifted from shock to pain, eyes wide, disbelief pouring in. The rain fell harder, washing away the chaos around them. Yet here, everything froze. Time slipped as the world slipped into confusion. "Roman, stay with me." Her voice trembled, fighting tears. She felt the warmth of his blood seeping into her hands, soaking the fabric of her shirt. The crowd murmured, shocked. Shadows crept closer, drawn by the sirens growing louder. "Lucy," he whispered, breath faltering. I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" she choked, heart racing. "What do you mean? Just hold on." But before Roman could respond, a sudden roar of anger erupted from the masked men. "You're in our way," one shouted, aiming his weapon at Lucy with a swift flick. "Step away." "From him!" The command sliced through the air from the officer. But conflicting orders only made the chaos grow. Lucy turned back to Roman, feeling the world distort around her. Then out from the shadows, Natasha lunged forward. "You have to leave, now. They're coming." Lucy stared, frozen. Natasha's wild gaze darted between the men and Roman, panic lighting her features. "His father and the others, they're not who you think they are." "Enough!" one of the men shouted. In the blink of an eye, he raised his weapon and fired into the air. A loud bang. Silence whipped through everyone. Suddenly, gasps filled the alley. The ground trembled as a figure emerged from the smoke, sharp and commanding. A tall man in a long coat stepped forward. His presence commanded attention, eyes hidden behind dark glasses. "I knew this would happen," he said, voice steady and cold. "Roman, it's time for the truth. You're not just a player in this game." "What truth?" Roman rasped, struggle visible in every word. "This was all part of the plan. You think you're just a victim? You've been chosen." The words hung heavy, suffocating the air. Lucy felt her heart drop. "Chosen for what?" she demanded, voice wavering. But before anyone could answer, the man pointed directly at her. "She can't know," he ordered, anger rising in his tone. "You can't trust her, Roman. She was never meant to find out." An icy breeze swept through, and for a moment, it felt like the world had turned upside down. Lucy's mind raced. What did that mean? What plan? "You!" Roman took a sharp breath. "You're lying. But then it dawned on Lucy. It felt like a sudden, horrific realization. The man before them was not a random threat. He was intertwined in a web of deceit. She could see it on Roman's face. It made him tremble, and suddenly her heart stuttered with dread. In a blink, Roman turned to her and said something that tore her soul apart. "Lucia, I didn't choose this. My family. They sacrificed everything. And you've walked into it." "What?" Lucy stumbled back, the shock washing over her in waves. "I thought you loved me. I thought you wanted to escape it all." But Roman's gaze fell, his shame almost palpable. "I thought so too, but there's more at stake." As echoes of the night played around them, the things they understood shifted, morphing into something darker, uglier. Lucy felt her world shake. What had she gotten into? Just then, a flash of light caught her eye. A drone whirred overhead, hovering, capturing the moment, like it was all part of a show. The crowd gasped again, realization dawning that this wasn't just a street encounter. This was a trap, and in the midst of the chaos, she felt the ground tremble beneath her. Like an earthquake, the truth was surfacing, with violent force, shattering everything she thought she knew. "Run!" Mary's frantic scream broke through the noise. "Before it's too late." But Lucy couldn't process it all. She was caught, encased in a web of destiny, with no way to escape. And then, as the drone hovered ominously, a figure stepped forward. Their hood pulled low, voice dripping with authority. "You thought you could hide, Roman? You have no idea what you've unleashed." The shattering implications hung in the air, waiting to swallow them whole. Questions piled on questions. Everything felt wrong, and as the weight of truth crashed in around her, Lucy realized she might have to choose between love and survival. But how could she, when everything she thought was real was dissolving before her eyes? The scene thrummed with tension, each heartbeat drumming in Lucy's ears as she crouched beside Roman, the air thick with uncertainty. The masked man spoke, his voice a dagger. "You've unleashed chaos. It's time to face the consequences." But before anyone could react, a sudden shift happened. The figure in the long coat, the one who claimed Roman was part of a grand plan, stepped closer. He lifted his glasses, revealing empty, soulless eyes that pierced through the darkness. "You think you know the truth, but you're all just pawns." A chill rippled through Lucy. "What do you mean?" she gasped, feeling as if the ground were slipping beneath her feet. "Your lives have been scripted, each move planned. It's not just Roman's family that's involved. Mary's mother knew the game too, right before she died," he said, each word slicing through the chaos. Lucy's stomach dropped. Everything she thought she understood unraveled. "What are you talking about?" She clutched Roman's hand tighter, watching the confusion twist on his face. Roman's father wanted power, control over everything. Mary's family was part of a business deal gone wrong. "They were marked," he continued, icy clarity spreading over the shadows. "You see, Mary is the key. Her bloodline ties directly to the fortune your families are fighting over." The revelation slammed into Lucy like a freight train. She glanced at Mary, who stood trembling, her eyes wide with horror. "No, you can't!" But the man cut her off, his voice too calm, too calculated. "The truth is more twisted than you imagine. Roman's mother didn't just go into hiding. They faked her death to protect a legacy too powerful to reveal." Roman's voice wavered. "What do you mean my mother is part of this?" The desperation was tangible, a plea mixed with anger. "Tell me!" "Your mother wasn't who you thought she was," the man replied, a wicked smile creeping across his lips. "She had ties to both families, a hidden lineage that connects Mary to the very heart of your father's empire." Lucy's breath caught. She turned to Mary. The pieces began to fit, the puzzle locking into place, like a sinister door swinging open. Mary shook her head, disbelief written all over her face. "No." But the man stepped closer, his tone dropping to a whisper now, dark and entangling. "It's true. You were both raised to be enemies, but the power lies in uniting. Your families wanted to control fate, but fate has other plans." As the words filled the alley, a thunderous crash echoed behind them. The crowd gasped as a car barreled through, tires screeching, sliding onto the pavement. With screeching momentum, the car slammed to a halt, its door flinging open. Shouts erupted, panic tearing through the onlookers. And in that moment of chaos, a figure burst out, wide-eyed and fierce. "Get back!" she screamed, charging toward them. The woman fell onto her knees beside Roman. But as she lifted her head in the dim light, Lucy's heart sank to her stomach. "Mom?" Roman whispered, disbelief transforming his voice. The familiar light in her eyes sparked recognition. A reflection of love igniting the storm around them. "What are you doing here?" he rasped, overwhelmed and lost. The world spiraled. The unexpected arrival shifted everything. As Roman's mother looked into his eyes, shadows receded, but new horrors loomed. "You need to know, everything is connected. You're not just a pawn, Roman. You're the heir to a war." Lucy felt a heat rising, blood rushing to her ears. What war? Didn't they just want to survive? "Run!" Mary's scream broke through the tremors of truth, but it was too late. The sirens screamed louder, urgent and demanding. And in that moment, Lucy understood. Their lives were irrevocably intertwined, bound in a web so intricate that escape felt impossible. As the truth unfurled like a dark tapestry, the question echoed and Lucy choked, heart racing. "What do you mean? Just hold on." But before Roman could respond, a sudden roar of anger erupted from the masked men. "You're in our way," one shouted, aiming his weapon at Lucy with a swift flick. "Step away from him." The command sliced through the air from the officer, but conflicting orders only made the chaos grow. Lucy turned back to Roman, feeling the world distort around her. Then, out from the shadows, Natasha lunged forward. "You have to leave. Now! They're coming!" Lucy stared, frozen. Natasha's wild gaze darted between the men and Roman, panic lighting her features. "His father and the others, they're not who you think they are." "Enough!" one of the men shouted. In the blink of an eye, he raised his weapon and fired into the air. A loud bang. Silence whipped through everyone. Suddenly, gasps filled the alley. The ground trembled as a figure emerged from the smoke, sharp and commanding. A tall man in a long coat stepped forward. His presence commanded attention, eyes hidden behind dark glasses. "I knew this would happen," he said, voice steady and cold. "Roman, it's time for the truth. You're not just a player in this game." "What truth?" Roman rasped, struggle visible in every word. Before anyone could reply, the man pointed directly at her. "She can't know," he ordered, anger rising in his tone. "You can't trust her, Roman. She was never meant to find out." An icy breeze swept through, and for a moment it felt like the world had turned upside down. Lucy's mind raced. What did that mean? What plan? Roman took a sharp breath. "You're lying." But then it dawned on Lucy. It felt like a sudden, horrific realization. The man before them was not a random threat. He was intertwined in a web of deceit. She could see it on Roman's face. It made him tremble, and suddenly her heart stuttered with dread. In a blink, Roman turned to her and said something that tore her soul apart. "Lucia, I didn't choose this. My family, they sacrificed everything. And you've walked into it." "What?" Lucy stumbled back, the shock washing over her in waves. "I thought you loved me. I thought you wanted to escape it all." But Roman's gaze fell, his shame almost palpable. "I thought so too, but there's more at stake." As echoes of the night played around them, the things they understood shifted, morphing into something darker, uglier. Lucy felt her world shake. What had she gotten into? Just then, a flash of light caught her eye. A drone whirred overhead, hovering, capturing the moment, like it was all part of a show. The crowd gasped again, realization dawning that this wasn't just a street encounter, this was a trap. And in the midst of the chaos, she felt the ground tremble beneath her. Like an earthquake, the truth was surfacing with violent force, shattering everything she thought she knew. "Run!" Mary's frantic scream broke through the noise. Before it's too late, but Lucy couldn't process it all. She was caught, encased in a web of destiny, with no way to escape. And then, as the drone hovered ominously, a figure stepped forward, their hood pulled low, voice dripping with authority. "You thought you could hide, Roman? You have no idea what you've unleashed." The shattering implications hung in the air, waiting to swallow them whole. Questions piled on questions. Everything felt wrong, and as the weight of truth crashed in around her, Lucy realized she might have to choose between love and survival. But how could she, when everything she thought was real was dissolving before her eyes? Suddenly, without warning, a loud crash echoed as the ground beneath them cracked open. A flash of light surged from the fissure, a buzzing electricity that sent everyone reeling back. The masked figures undid their disguises, revealing shocked faces that mirrored her disbelief. And then, to Lucy's horror, Roman fell forward before her and vanished into the crack, as if swallowed whole. "No!" she screamed, reaching for him, but the void pulled him down. "Roman!" Mary cried, her face a mask of fear. Before the words settled in, the light cocooned the fissure, wrapping around Lucy, lifting her off her feet. All around, the crowd turned and screamed, disoriented. It felt like a nightmare. The man in the long coat stepped back, losing his calm. "What have you done?" he shouted at the fissure, voice trembling. "We were supposed to control this. I didn't do anything." The truth hung in the air like smoke. Everything skidded to a halt. As the brightness consumed everything, Lucy blinked and found herself standing alone. No Roman, no Natasha, just empty shadows where moments ago there had been chaos. And in that heartbeat, the world shifted once more. The stark realization hit her. She was alone, thrust into a realm where love, fate, and loyalty twisted into something darker. "Roman," she whispered, her chest heavy with an aching dread. Whatever lay ahead, it was going to change everything. Lucy stood in the sudden silence, heart pounding. The light enveloped her, heavy and surreal. The last remnants of chaos faded, leaving her breathless. Roman had vanished. Fear twisted. In her gut, demanding answers, screaming that something was terribly wrong. "Roman," she called into the void, voice breaking against the emptiness. No answer came, just echoes in the air, repeating her name in haunting whispers. Mary, who stood nearby, eyes wide and terrified, breathed heavily, panic overtaking her. "We have to find him. We can't let them take him," she said, her voice frantic. But Lucy's mind spun, drowning in confusion and disbelief. How could she fight back against something so overwhelming, so dark? What just of the cracked ground, an unexpected ripple surged. The drone hovered above, its lights flashing dramatically, illuminating a shadow creeping closer. As if summoned by the chaos, that dark figure emerged from the smoke. Lucy squinted, her heart racing again. It was a man, tall and imposing, with sharp features that seemed all too familiar. When he stepped into the light, Lucy's breath caught. It was Victor, the very person she never wanted to see again. Roman's father. "What are you doing here?" Mary shouted, voice tinged with rage and fear, taking a step back. Victor's lips curled into a sly smile. "It seems fate has a way of bringing us together," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "I didn't expect you to be so brave, Mary. Or you, Lucy, but you've both unknowingly played your part in this." "What do you mean?" Lucy snapped, fists clenching at her sides. "Where's Roman?" Victor took a step closer, arrogance lacing his every move. "He's where he was always meant to be, out of this world. This was never meant to be a fairy tale ending. He's part of something much larger than you can comprehend." Lucy felt her chest tighten, panic creeping back in. "What are you talking about? You're lying! This can't be happening." In that moment, the ground beneath her began to shake, becoming unstable once more, as if rebelling against Victor's presence. "You're not ready for the truth, Lucy, but I'll give you just a glimpse," he said, pulling something from his coat. A small, metallic device that glowed softly. Suddenly, the device activated, projecting a holographic image in front of them. The flickering light revealed Roman, alive, but chained in a dark room, surrounded by menacing shadows. Heart plummeting, Lucy struggled to breathe. "No, Roman!" Tears filled her eyes as she witnessed the scene unfold. Roman looked just as lost as she felt, trapped in a cage of secrets. "You see, he is the key to everything. He opens the door to power beyond your wildest imagination," Victor continued, each word sharp like daggers. "Let him go!" Mary yelled, her voice punctuated with anger and desperation. But Victor's gaze hardened, and for the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. He won't be free until the mission is complete. You can't stop this. There are forces at work you can't even begin to understand. The weight of his words struck Lucy like lightning. "What forces? What are you planning?" Before Victor could answer, the shadows shifted behind him, revealing figures cloaked in darkness. They moved forward, eyes glinting in the dim light, and Lucy stumbled back, shock gripping her. Just as Victor opened his mouth to respond, everything shattered in the cacophony of chaos. The shadows lunged at them, but in the midst of the fray, something unexpected happened. A blinding flash erupted from the device, engulfing the alley in light. And then she felt it. A pull, a rush of air that lifted her off the ground and hurled her backward. Lucy screamed, the sound swallowed by the bright eruption. The world twisted, colors blending in a dizzying whirl. And when she blinked again, she was standing in a different place, alone but for a small child, wide-eyed and familiar. A jolt of recognition struck her. It was Lily. "Lucy," the girl cried, voice innocent and pure. "You need to wake up. You're dreaming." "What? What do you mean?" Lucy shouted, confusion spiraling out of control. But Lily's face turned serious. "You have to find him. You don't know the truth." As the room around them warped and pulsed, the crushing weight of untold stories threatened to drown them once more. Everything felt surreal, trapped in a web spun by fate itself. The revelations whispered through the folds of reality, secrets buried so deep that even the ground trembled in their wake. "Wake up, Lucy, before it's too late," Lily urged, desperately reaching for her. And as Lucy grasped for her sister's hand, the fog of uncertainty thickened. The truth about Roman, about their families, it was slipping through her fingers like sand. How had everything spiraled so far beyond her control? What did it all mean? But one thing was painfully clear. The game was just beginning, and she was right in the middle of it. Lucy grabbed Lily's hand, heart racing. "You can't be dreaming. This is real," she said, looking around as the shadows began to close in again. She took a deep breath, urging herself to stay strong. "We have to find Roman. Then, let's wake up," Lily said, determination shining in her eyes. The little girl squeezed Lucy's hand. "You have to believe. Trust your heart." With a gentle pull, Lucy focused on her sister's voice, feeling the energy of her love push back the shadows. The world shifted again, darkness lifting like a curtain. Suddenly, they found themselves in the alley once more. The chaos still hummed in the air, but now Lucy could see everything more clearly. Victor stood before them, the twisted smirk gone. The masked men surrounded him, eyes darting nervously. "Get them!" he shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Lucy felt adrenaline spike. She pushed forward, her voice fierce. "No, we won't let you take him." Mary appeared at Lucy's side, fierce determination etched on her face. "What happens to Roman happens to us too," she declared, defiance ringing loud. Suddenly, the shadows shifted again, swallowing the masked men whole as they froze in place. The glowing device Victor had revealed fell to the ground, quickly dimming, its power dying. In that moment, Lucy spotted Roman, his face a mixture of relief and disbelief as he stepped out from the darkness. "Lucy!" he called, reaching for her. "Roman!" she cried, abandoning fear and rushing toward him. They collided, emotions tumbling into a torrent of relief and love. "I thought I lost you." He pulled her close, the world around them blurring away. "You have no idea what I felt. I thought I'd never come back." But Mary interrupted, urgency taking over. "Roman, we need to get out now. They won't stop." Victor's face twisted in anger as he realized the tide was turning. He shouted, "Get them back! You can't let them leave!" As they broke free, the crowd erupted in chaos. Lucy moved with the momentum, pushing onward as the conflict ensued behind them. The alley felt alive. Footsteps thundered. Suddenly the ground around Victor began to ripple again. He screamed, caught in the maelstrom of his own making as the shadows consumed him, pulling him into the void. "No!" he yelled, words swallowed by the darkness. With one last look at the scene, Lucy felt a weight lift. They were free. The swirling shadows dissipated, replaced by blurry streetlights and the comforting evening sky, speckled with stars. "I can't believe we made it," Mary murmured, breathless with astonishment. "Thanks to all of us," Roman said softly, eyes glimmering as he looked around. "We fought together." Lucy took a step closer, the warmth of hope warming her heart. "We'll get through this. Together." But just as they breathed in relief, Lucy caught sight of a figure watching from the edge of the street. A silhouette wrapped in shadow. It was Natasha. Her eyes hardened, but filled with something deeper, an unsettling seriousness. "Wait!" Lucy called, heart pounding again. Natasha turned, panic flickering on her face. What did we miss? You can't leave this behind! It's never over, Natasha said cryptically. You've only seen the surface. The truth runs much deeper. As she backed away into the darkness, her figure faded, leaving Lucy and her friends reeling. What had they unleashed? Questions loomed over them, hanging in the evening air. The weight of the unknown began to settle back in. Lucy, what if... Roman began, uncertain. We have to stay strong. No matter what comes next, she asserted, holding them together. This isn't just our story now. It's a war against the darkness. But we will face it, together. The group stood united, determination beginning to spark like fire in the crisp night air. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But as the stars twinkled above, hope blossomed on the horizon. And just then, a deep voice echoed in the silence, a haunting reminder that their battles were far from finished. Prepare yourselves. It's only the beginning. Lucy took a deep breath, staring into the unknown. But they would be ready. Are you ready? Listen, you need to subscribe immediately to this channel to stay connected and not miss our upcoming exclusive stories that will unravel all the secrets left untold. Smash that like button now. Do it for the algorithm. It really makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories about this ending, and let's talk about what's next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this finale. Your support is crucial, and only true fans understand how important it is to keep this community alive.